Welcome back to the Real Personal Branding Podcast. Today's episode is a little different. I'm sharing a rebroadcast from the Travis Makes Money podcast. Travis Chappell interviewed me for his podcast, and we talked about everything from the first dollar I ever earned and the kind of ups and downs and twists and turns in my own journey of entrepreneurship. It was really fun. It was a fun conversation. I'm excited for you to hear it from a different perspective, hear my story as told by someone else's questions. So let's get into it.
What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money, whether that's through, side hustle, promotion at work, negotiating a salary, whatever it is, new business. Today on the show, we're going to talk about social media marketing with my good friend and old friend. We've been friends for a long time now, Lauren Davis. Lauren is the founder of Lauren Davis Creative, a marketing and branding consultancy that helps speakers and entrepreneurs establish their memorable personal brands, resulting in magnetic engagement and lifelong clients. Lauren and I have been friends for a really long time. I'm super stoked to get into this conversation about how to make some money through social media. But before we jump into that, if you are wondering how I go about building the relationships that I have on this show or on my other podcast, Travis Makes Friends, it's through the podcast itself. It's become the ultimate connection tool for me. Plus, it helps me create better social content, build an audience, grow my personal brand, sharpen expertise. And if you're committed, it can actually pay you sponsorship dollars to do all the things that I just said it helps you do. So it can be a really, really great addition to whatever you're working on. If you're already a 7, 8, or 9 figure entrepreneur and anything that I just said sounds appealing, head over to travischappell.com/coaching. There's an application right there. We'll see if we might be a good fit to work together one-on-one for podcast coaching. So travischappell.com/coaching. Now, without further ado, Lauren Davis, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to see your face and hang out and have this conversation. This is great.
I know it's been a long time coming. That's one of my favorite parts of the show is just like I get to meet a bunch of new people, but also it gives me an excuse to catch up with old friends. So yeah, thanks for doing this.
And we usually end up seeing each other like once a year at a conference somewhere that we're not even expecting to see each other at. But absolutely, yeah, it's been a minute. So happy to do this.
I know you've had a bunch of life changes. I've had a bunch of life changes. A bunch of stuff's been going on, but that's how life goes. But I'm glad that we're able to reconnect now. So catch me up a little bit. Tell me about how you are currently making money.
Ooh, how I'm currently making money. Okay, so well, I just spent the last year and a half traveling in a van. And for those people who don't know me, that's a major difference from my life before that, which involved me running and owning a record store for about 16 years, learning all that I know about marketing and business and branding and personal branding and storytelling through owning that business, through some schooling and a ton of personal development. And so now the last year and a half, really what was actually fascinating about doing that was relearning how to have a completely remote and digital business while traveling the country full time. So that meant all of I do a lot of coaching, a lot of one-on-one personal brand coaching. And that meant all of my calls, I needed to make sure that there was even sunlight available. So that way I could have these calls. I had to make sure that there was internet available so I could have those calls. And I had to be fully remote all the time, have power, have energy, have all the things I need. And it was truly an experience.
Yeah, it sounds like a challenge and a half, but also if you can piece it together, it also sounds like a really cool way to spend a year and a half and see the country.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was so nice to be able to wake up every day and see a different sunrise and see a different body of water, and sometimes mountains, sometimes not bodies of water, but just different landscapes. It was so cool. And you're in Vegas. Have you ever been to the Valley of Fire area?
I don't think so, actually.
Oh my gosh. It is whenever someone says, where was your favorite place you went? It was Valley of Fire. It's just outside of Vegas, and it's like a state park, I think. And really? It is the most incredible, breathtaking campground that we ever stayed at. There were just antelopes walking around, and there were
Valley of Fire.
There were slot canyons.
I have to see how far it is from my front door right now.
Yeah, I'm going to send you pictures. I'm going to send you pictures of it. It was absolutely crazy.
Hour and a half. Okay.
Yeah, Valley of Fire outside of Vegas. Beautiful. We kind of stumbled across it.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Got it. It's on the other side of Lake Mead.
Yeah.
Got it.
And ironically, That is the only campground that I couldn't get power. I couldn't get power or
Oh,
I'm
really?
sorry, I could get power, I couldn't get internet at, ironically. So
So you had to come into
um
town to do client calls for a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, we had to go find somewhere to go every day and rearrange some things. So
Well, I'm a big fan of your journey, Lauren, because obviously when we first met, it was like we were at Pat Flynn's social
networking
media
event.
marketing,
Yeah.
networking something or other. And I remember you and I just hit it off like immediately. We just started talking, and I was self-proclaimed introvert at the time, but also I started a podcast for some freaking reason on networking. And so whenever I was in those situations, I felt like I had to, take some of my own medicine and go be the one to go approach people. And I could tell that
Yeah.
you were also introverted and not wanting to talk to anybody. So I was like, oh, talk to this girl.
I was kind of like scaling the outside of the room, like doing a couple laps to see if
Yeah.
I could break into any conversation. And if not, I was literally about to leave the minute that I met you. So we had a great we had a great conversation. And I think that both you and I are the same. Like we do not like to have conversations with people that are just surface level,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of just run of the mill, like how's the weather? Oh, what's it like where you live? Like it's
Yeah.
just what do you do? It's like we kind of had a below surface level conversation almost immediately. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I really like this guy. I'm going to listen to his podcast.
That's right.
Listen
Yeah,
to your
yeah. And then you
podcast.
hit me up on the
Yeah.
plane on your way back. We're like, hey, I listened to a few episodes. And like back, like that was like that's like a podcaster's love language is like
Yeah.
you listened to my podcast. Like especially when I was first getting started, it was like, no way, you took time out of your day to listen to me.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah.
said that to me. You were like,
Yeah.
"You really listened?" I was like, "Yeah, I really, really did."
Yeah.
Imagine you saying that to people now. Like you've had such success since that time. This is like 6 years ago or something, or 7 years ago.
Yeah, more
So
than I was gonna say, I think 7. Yeah, over 7
yeah,
years ago. Yeah.
geez, that's crazy.
Yeah, about 1,000 episodes ago is
Oh my
really
god!
about what it was. Yeah. But yeah, since that
Wow.
time too, I've watched you kind of like go from basically that to like, hey, I have this record store and I've had to learn a little bit about marketing just to get people into my record store. And then you just kind of were a graphic designer by trade a little bit. And so you're like, I actually kind of like this stuff a lot better than I like running a record store. And then started kind of taking on some more social media clients. And then I was actually one of your first clients.
This is true. You were one of my first personal brand social media clients back in the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think so. The thing that I learned about branding and social media marketing and telling stories from the record store is there's like a big difference between when someone comes in and says, "Oh, vinyl, why would I buy vinyl?" Right? Like why would I buy a record? And think about this. This is back in like 2008, 2009 when vinyl was not having the resurgence or the heyday that it was having then. So
Yeah.
I could say to them, or I could say online, vinyl sounds better, which is kind of true. Like the audio isn't compressed, it sounds better. Like I can say all the nerdy things about why vinyl is better, right? But I could also say, do you remember when we were younger and you would like get a CD and you would pop it in your Walkman or in your boombox, and then you would open up the liner notes and read through all the notes that the artists left and all the thank yous and read through every lyric of every song, and you would really have to like actively listen to that music. It's such an active listening experience when you have vinyl. You can take the needle, you put it on the groove, you listen to it start up, you sit back on the couch, you read through all the liner, and there's nothing passive about listening to vinyl. It's an active experience where you get to fully enjoy your music. And the difference between those two things, like it sounds better and telling a story and giving people the ability to actually feel into the experience that they would have, is the best way to sell something.
Yeah.
And so I took all of those properties from selling and storytelling and marketing this beautiful legendary record store, and I left the record store, but I used all of those things to kind of help me share how people can build community from stage.
Yeah.
Share this with speakers, with podcasters, with personal brands. Like, how do you create connection and create those connection points where people can say, "Oh yeah, I know that exact feeling. I want to do that. I want this, or I want to have this experience." And every person, no matter who you are, whether you're a local business owner, a personal brand, a speaker, you need to build that kind of trust and that kind of connection with your audience.
Tell me about the first dollar that you made doing this. Like, do you remember actually when somebody was like, "Oh, I'll actually pay you to do this," instead of you just telling me a little bit about what you do?
I do. Well, which part? The social media, the design, the marketing. Oh my
I
gosh,
get,
there's
yeah, I would say probably the social media piece. Like, I like to give the audience ideas of like what's something that they could do. What like if somebody's listening and they have like a propensity towards social, they find themselves on social, they like keeping up with the trends on social, but they've never thought about monetizing it to any degree,
yeah.
and they maybe think the ship has sailed, which it absolutely
Hmm.
has not. Just tell me about like your experience with like, hey, turning this little bit of a knowledge base that you were building at the time, which is now expanded infinitely, but at the time it wasn't what it is now. But you still found
Yeah.
somebody to give you some money in exchange for some of your time to be able to do it for them.
Yeah, I feel like I've had like a consulting sandwich. Like I started by consulting and then I leaned into like a more agency style and then I went back. Now I've gone back to more like coaching and consulting. So the first time I remember somebody asking me to help them with marketing, it was actually this local vintage shop in my hometown. And what was happening was I was getting a lot of press and a lot of people paying attention to our store. And so local business owners started coming up to me and saying like, "How are you doing this? Like you have a little gothic metal looking shop. How are you getting these grannies to come in here and buy things for their grandkids, or how are you getting people to like come in and actually take ownership in the shop?" And so people started asking me like, "Can you do this for us too? Can you start helping us share our messages?" So I kind of started consulting a little bit, and then I started getting reached out to by people. But I do remember this one vintage shop in town. Her name was the person who owned it is named Luann. And Luann and I had I loved going to her shop. So that was part of it. But she kind of almost like took me under her wing and like started being my biggest mouthpiece all around town. She paid me for stuff for her business, but then she was introducing me to all of her friends and she's very well connected. She got me involved with like the Animal Humane Society and stuff here. She got me involved with like politicians were asking me to do some work for them, and it just kept going. So from that one single client, she kind of helped me share and spread the word out to other people, and that I would say that she was probably the person I earned my first real money from.
Yeah.
And I, oh my gosh, I can't, I still think about her. And whenever she shows up on my Facebook or leaves a comment, I'm like, "You literally changed my life. You have no
Yeah.
idea."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never forget that first dollar, even if it's not,
No.
even if it's not much money, it's just like, it's a mindset switch. It's like somebody gives you that first dollar. You're like, wait, people will do this? Like,
Hmm.
wait, I can actually potentially do this again and somebody else will also pay me money to do this. This is crazy.
Right. And I
Like
mean, I
this
was doing
snowball.
that since I was like a kid too. I was selling artwork, rocks. I was selling my services, raking lawns. I was having lemonade stands, like anything you can think of. I was obsessed with being an entrepreneur. And I'll never forget that when I was younger, I wanted to recycle because of the environment. And I also learned that you could make money by collecting cans. So I somehow got people in my neighborhood to pay me to both collect their cans. And then I would also bring the cans to the recycling place and get money from it.
Nice.
And yeah, I would walk around the neighborhood with my wagon picking up people's cans. And I remember my dad sat me down at the kitchen table with like an orange piece of construction paper and he kind of mapped out like, "Okay, if you make this much money from this many houses, this is what you'll have at the end of the month." And it was like $6 or something. It wasn't even anything huge, but I remember it showing me like, "Oh, these are my expenses.
Mm,
This is the money that I can make.
yeah.
And if I get more houses, I can have more money." And I remember this is like 8 years old. I remember that is the moment that I feel like it truly lit a fire under me.
Good on dad for that
Yeah.
lesson, to sit down with you for that. That's awesome. Yeah. That moment where you realize that effort is correlated with income is a big moment for anybody, and especially for entrepreneurs, because you just have that unexplainable itch to go out and do things. And I think that being an introvert is kind of a superpower in that regard, because I used to look at that as like, man, I wish I could just kind of like be more outgoing, like my friend so and so or whatever. And then me and that friend would go do like a sales gig, and
Yeah.
I would crush and he would struggle. And it was like, why is this? This seems so counterintuitive. Like, I'm introverted, he's extroverted. Like, he's the one always talking to everybody. He's not shy, never met a stranger. I kind of keep to myself unless people talk to me, or I have to force myself to be that way when I'm around him. Which is good. It stretched me and helped me be better at that. But also I was still kind of like, nervous about what people's perception
Yeah.
would be or whatever. It ended up being really helpful, especially as it relates to building good relationships with people, and then kind of being able to sell without feeling like you're selling to somebody, which has been
Yes.
a super valuable tool for me. And I know it's been something for you too. I think that was one of the first things that you and I worked through when you were my client. So you were a client of mine, and then I was also a client of
Yes.
yours right at the same
That's
time.
true.
I think the
Yes.
thing that like we had worked on the most when we worked together was like me helping you on the sales side to like put
Hmm.
packages together and then say like, this is really good, Lauren. Like, stop apologizing for charging people for this stuff that you're doing. This is like, you're really good at this. Like, do more of it.
Yeah. No,
Um,
you were so helpful to me at that. You were so, so helpful to me at that time. Like, I was very much in my brain of like smaller local, fixated on like
yeah,
what those packages price, what local business owners who are bootstrapping everything and like cannot barely afford to take 3 hours off,
right.
what can they afford? I was very stuck there. And the truth is like there is a lot of abundance for creating a business you want, selling packages you want, and still showing up for the people who you have a really deep passion for in your
Yeah.
life. So you really helped me find those ways of doing that back then, and it changed a lot for me for real. So thank you for that.
Well, of course. And to your credit, you actually did the things. Like you actually went out and like did like you said, like you still found a way to support those people. Like, you didn't abandon them
Yes.
and go like, well, sorry guys, but these people have more money, so I'm just going to work with them. It was like, okay, if I'm doing this really low leverage done for you service, then I can't continue to charge these prices for this particular customer. I have to go
Right.
find people with money to go to pay me what my time is worth to do these services. It's just
Yeah.
I got solve. It's that old adage of like, solve rich people problems, they pay better. And you
Hmm.
can solve the same exact problem for somebody that has money that you're solving for somebody who doesn't have money, and the person who has money is going to pay you 10 times more with the person who doesn't have money who's going to be able to pay you for solving the same thing with the same
Yes.
knowledge, the same skill stack. Everything is exactly the same. It's just that that person has the money to pay you, and they don't complain about the work, and they're not trying to pinch pennies on their when it comes billing time. They just wire you 6 months up front and say, all right, let's do it, and then don't even think about it. But you didn't abandon those people. And I watched you also like start these huge local community small business events where like you're bringing in outside speakers that you're meeting while you're like touring around the freaking country going to all these events. You bring like super high level business marketing speakers to Rockford, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, like an hour outside of it, to help support all of these small businesses, and have a nonprofit to help support all these small businesses that you could no longer like take on from like a full-time perspective. And like that's the unlock to me, is unlimited upside potential, because you find the people that you're supposed to be working with, but then you
Hmm.
can take the free time and some extra cash that you're making with these people, and you can actually solve the problem for these other people as well, just on a one-to-many basis for lower ticket prices that they can actually afford, get a crazy amount of value, and see some significant changes in their businesses and their lives too. So like you did really, really well and have continued to do really well at just finding like how do I add value here, but also how do I prioritize my sanity and my mental health to actually make this to where I have a thriving business and I can travel across the country with my significant other for a year and a half,
Yeah.
and still be able to buy food, you know?
Yeah. I would not want to do it this year with the way that
Yeah.
groceries are looking and gas is looking
Yeah,
right
sure.
now. Please be very honest. One thing I just wanted to say there is
Yeah,
that
please.
the thing, and this is what I would tell one of my clients now, because I do a lot of now I do a lot of personal brand consulting and coaching and like helping people build that business around their personal brand.
Yep.
And what I would say that I did not have then that I really learned from you and our friend, our mutual friend, Mike Kim, and like some other people that were very meaningful to my life is that, and something that you just said is that there are people with the same exact problems. They're just in different places, different levels, different industries, different types of business owners. And what I really had to get through at that time, that looking back on it now, I realize is that I didn't believe I was worthy of solving the same exact problem I was solving for this business over here. I didn't believe I was worthy of solving it for this business over here.
Mm.
And so that was the thing that I needed to be able to be like, no, you are an expert at that. You've been doing this now for 10 years. You
Right.
literally know exactly what you're doing. You just have to apply it differently to a different industry and learn about that industry. And if there's one thing I'm great at, it's research and getting really nerdy about details. And I know I could do that. So if I could do that, I could show up for almost anybody. And learning that about myself and learning that that's who I am made me be able to take those big steps.
I'm curious on your your answer to this question because I don't remember what it was when we first started hanging out. Do you believe that what you know or who you know is more important, and why?
Oh man, I haven't heard you ask that question in a long time.
It's been a while.
I think there is I think that it's a teeter-totter.
Hmm.
Like I really do, because I don't believe that you should sell something that you don't know about. I don't believe you should totally fake it till you make it. I don't think that you should go into any situation not knowing anything, because you're doing a disservice to yourself and to your personal brand and to the people that you're serving.
It's never going to work long term.
It won't. Yeah. And that was another thing that I think was very helpful to me. And this is also helpful to you. And you have been like this the whole time I've known you, is that you are very consistent. You are consistently delivering the result you say you're going to deliver. And if you aren't going to deliver it, you don't say that you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is, I think that there's like some level of consistency with me that like I've watched other business owners go like up and down these wild rides of like good and bad and everything in between with their businesses. And my business has just consistently, sometimes slowly, but consistently built itself up over a long period of time to a point now where I feel very safe and very comfortable, and I can go travel the country for a year and a half and all of that. But I do think that who you know is so incredibly important, and that it's really important to push yourself to get into circles that you might not always feel super comfortable in. Like, for instance, you and I met at that networking event. I almost didn't go because I was like, I don't know if this is like my place. I don't know anybody here. I literally know nobody in this room except for, I met Valerie earlier that day. You know Valerie as well. I went and I met you, and now we've been friends for like 8 years. We've helped each other in numerous ways. We've shown up for each other in numerous ways. And you can't put a price tag on that. Like I couldn't learn that in school. That's not something that I've learned. So I do think I think it's a constant teeter-totter. Like you're kind of like managing the scale at all times, but both are important. And I think, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could pick the most important, but I do think that who you know is underrated.
Yeah.
Who you know is very underrated.
I give the edge to who because of what you just said, because now we've been friends for a long time. And like when I first started with that hypothesis, it was really just as it related to success. And like now it sounds weird, but it sounds cliche, but as I'm getting older, I start to realize that like, it's not just a factor of your success, although it plays a massive factor in that. It's also like, what are we as human beings really pursuing at the end of the day? It's not the accumulation of money to no end. It's money to solve problems so that we can enjoy other aspects of life. And one of those aspects is relationships, and relationships are time and time again, the longest longitudinal study on human happiness that's ever been done by Harvard found that relationships were contributed to happiness by a landslide more than any other single factor. And so it's just like, well, yeah, what you know is very, very important to your success, but accumulating more knowledge is not going to contribute to your happiness scale in the least. Whereas relationships Just, they always have. They always have. So
They really do.
I appreciate you for coming on, Lauren. Let's move into the last round here. Some quick random questions, quick random answers. You ready?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. What profession other than your own do you think it'd be fun to master?
Oh, I think I would love to go into counseling or be a therapist, because I love to ask people questions. I love to help people see things about themselves they might not see. And I'm pretty good at managing intricate interrelational issues. And so I think that would be something I would definitely explore if I could go back in time. I don't think I would do it now.
If you could sit on a park bench with someone, past or present, chat for an hour, who would it be?
It would probably be my grandma.
That's a good answer.
And maybe, I know it sounds silly, but there's so much
silly.
I wish I like, there's so much I loved about her, so many questions I asked her, but it was never enough. And she immigrated here when she was in her teens, and she, escaped basically from where she lived. And so there's so much that I just want to talk to her about. There's so many things.
How do you like to consume information the best? Books, audiobooks, blogs, podcasts, YouTube videos, newsletters?
Definitely audio or written. I literally cannot figure out who's watching videos. I know the statistic
I know it's
says
billions, but it's not me. Yeah.
everyone's watching videos. I literally cannot understand it. Yeah.
What's one of your favorite money-making books or audiobooks or podcasts? One of those resources.
You Are the Brand by Mike Kim. You Are the Brand by Mike Kim. That's the name of it. Mike is clearly one of my friends, your friends too, but I teach personal branding. I'm a personal branding consultant. And I think Mike is like, he wrote the personal branding Bible.
As we get everything wrapped up here, Lauren, where can people go to get more from you?
People can go to laurendaviscreative.com, or they can find me on Instagram, which is ldaviscreative. That's kind of my handle everywhere. So if you find ldaviscreative one place, you'll find it everywhere. And I would love to connect with you and be real friends.
At L Davis Creative. Reach out to Lauren, tell her what's up. Thank you so much for joining me, Lauren. Everybody else, remember, money only solves your money problems, but it's a little bit easier to solve the other problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that one first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Lauren, thanks so much for doing this. Everybody else, we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.
Thank you so much for listening to this special episode of the Real Personal Branding Podcast, featuring my interview on Travis Makes Money with Travis Chappell. It is always a little surreal, I think, to hear your own story through someone else's questions. So I hope you enjoyed hearing it. And if you did enjoy hearing more about where it all started for me, and you want to connect with Travis or me, you'll find all of the links in the show notes of this episode. And if this conversation made you think of someone else who might enjoy it, feel free to share it with them. Your support means so much to me, and it helps more people find this show. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for listening to the Real Personal Branding Podcast.